Right, I'm taking over for Bill tonight. I think you said Maxie's 10 years for his insurance business. So
That's right.
Yeah.
that's great.
Okay.
So, and thank you for to kind of help me with the script here. So, welcome to the October 4th, 2023 Oakdale Economic Development Commission regular meeting. Bill, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we're going to do the roll call now. We know Bill's not here. I am here. Jeff Bates. Bob Bullion.
Here.
Frank Orsello.
Here.
Stacy.
Here.
Gary's not here. Bob Stiglich. Here. Yep. Aaron.
Here.
Pang.
Here.
Tony.
Here.
All right. So did everybody get a chance to look at the meeting minutes? Any discussion, comments, corrections? That is from the August 2nd meeting. No changes, no comments? Would anybody like to make a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
Make a motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, first on the, next is the old business. So I'll turn that over to Max.
Sure thing. And before we get into the business retention, expansion, and attraction program, I do want to acknowledge that we have two new members tonight who were recently appointed to the Economic Development Commission, Pang and Tony. As staff, we're really excited to have both members aboard, and we feel their business experience will bring some great perspectives on the EDC. Pang and Tony, feel free, if you would like, to briefly introduce yourselves and anything that you're looking forward to on the commission.
Go ahead. You can go, Pang.
On the spot.
So I'm Pang Vang. I think I met a few of you guys, or maybe everybody, can't remember. But I'm excited. I'm excited to get to meet everybody and see what's going on and help in any way that I can.
I'm Tony Jenkins. Again, met some of you, local banker at CCF Bank, commercial lending. I've been in the area banking for over 10 years. Hudson resident, but certainly anywhere I'm involved from River Falls. So I'm part of my church. I work in Oakdale, so I want to be part of anything in the community that I'm in, where I live, work. So I felt that it was important to do this, and I'm excited to join you guys and provide some input and see what we can do.
Welcome.
Yeah.
All right, great. So with that, we can move on to the Business Retention, Expansion, and Attraction Program, BREA for short, the report, presentation, and discussion from the first year. So I'm excited to present to the Commission tonight the findings of the BREA report from our first year with the program, 2022 to 2023. This report was prepared by Kim O'Brien of the St. Paul Chamber, who's done a great job compiling the findings of each business visit and translating them into actionable items. The report is included in tonight's packet. Additionally, I have a presentation prepared by Kim O'Brien that summarizes many of the report's most important points. Tonight, I'll give that presentation and open the room for discussion about the report, its findings, and implications for the next round of business retention visits. For new members, the city began its business retention program last year with the goal of visiting local businesses to build relationships and better understand business needs. Visits are typically conducted by a mix of city staff, EDC members, chamber staff, and Oakdale elected officials. And two quick notes before the presentation. First, I want to acknowledge that the BREA program has received recognition for its efforts. Our city actually won the Best Business Retention Program at the Leaders in Local Government Awards a few weeks ago.
Oh.
So if you want to turn to the memo regarding this item in your packet. You can see a picture there of some of our city representatives accepting that. Additionally, the city is currently in the process of developing an additional contract with the St. Paul Area Chamber to help assist us in administering and scheduling the next round of BRIA visits. We'll keep you updated as we move forward towards the next cycle and get that contract finalized. So with that, we can kind of dive into the report and its findings. And just as a reminder, we couldn't do this without the Oakdale Area Chamber of Commerce and the St. Paul Area Chamber. Both were really important in the scheduling and then administration of the program and collaboration with city staff. So the original timeline for the BRIA program is displayed on the screen. Currently, we're in the last stage presenting findings. While we had initially planned to present findings in April, it took us a bit longer to schedule some of the meetings and get to this point, though as staff we're very happy with both the BRIA process and the final report. And as a quick reminder and an introduction to new members, we had 4 primary goals with the BRIA program: expressing appreciation to businesses and building relationships, connect businesses with resources to help them grow, understand real estate and workforce needs for employers of Oakdale, and understand how our policies impact the business climate of Oakdale. And this presentation was designed in mind with a general audience, so some of this material is likely very familiar, especially for those who attended the meetings, but the findings should be new to us, or at least compiled in a form where we can really see the patterns emerge between all the visits. So, as stated earlier, each visit was attended by a mix of elected officials, city staff members, chamber staff, and EDC commissioners. Generally, the businesses we visited can be broken down into 6 categories as Kim organized them. COVID impacted, so hotels and restaurants, especially woman-owned, BIPOC or Black, Indigenous, and people of color-owned businesses. Legacy employers, so places that have existed in Oakdale for quite a long time. The top employment sectors, which in this round included grocery stores and banking. And last, geographic diversity, making sure we visit businesses in all areas of the city, as many of our businesses are concentrated in the southern third of the city and around the Berkin Plaza area. So here we just have a quick map of all of the 18 visits we conducted over the last year. Note that quite a few are concentrated in the southern third, though we did get up to the northern aspect to visit Park Tool and a few others. During each visit, we followed a business retention best practice of asking business owners to select selected survey questions to maintain fairness and improve data collection. However, we made an effort to try to keep the conversation natural and dynamic and flowing to prevent the feeling of just filling out a questionnaire or anything like that. Generally, questions focused on business details, facilities information, workforce issues, investment plans, transportation, and general feelings of what it's like to be a business in Oakdale. Additionally, depending on the visit, they often included facility tours, photos, and follow-ups with staff. And once we begin the next cycle, any EDC members are invited to join us on the visits. We try to have about 5 staff, so 5 representatives, so that businesses don't get overwhelmed. So these next several slides combine photos of each visit with key takeaways from the full report. For takeaways, generally, most businesses we visited were retailers, restaurants, or service-based, with some healthcare and education as well. The oldest business we visited was Twin Cities Hardware, which began in St. Paul in 1938 before moving over to Oakdale. The oldest that's been in Oakdale for the full length was Carol Matthews Center for Children, which has been a part of Oakdale since 1970. And the newest that we visited was High Five Sports, which just opened in 2022, and Hy-Vee was the largest employer with a combined 425 employees at the Oakdale location. And we also visited quite a few small businesses, the smallest being Hearing of America at 2 employees. So here we have the photos compiled for manufacturing businesses we visited, including Twin Cities Hardware and Park Tool. Here we have more takeaways regarding impacts on businesses. In general, COVID-related habit changes, technology changes, material and labor costs, and changing consumer preferences were the largest factors impacting businesses. COVID had a very wide range of impacts on our businesses, with it creating considerable growth for some, and some, especially restaurants, barely made it through, and we're glad to still have them around. Additionally, many noted that they grew or stayed stable in the last year. Here we have some of our restaurants that participated, including Beers Tube, Sergeant Pepper's, and Warrior Nutrition. The report had a number of takeaways on facilities and workforce issues. Generally, most businesses didn't plan to expand in the next few years, although several wanted to make major investments in new technology, equipment, and other factors that are inside of the business, rather than a full campus expansion. And all said that they were happy with their facilities. Additionally, all employees did express that they were having troubles with hiring, especially for lower skilled positions. So for more photos, we have some of our services and hospitality businesses, including FlowFit Fitness, High Five Sports, Victoria Nails, and the Hampton Inn. And then we have a few notes on transportation and housing. Generally, all businesses we visited felt Oakdale's transportation served them well, although construction was commonly cited as the largest negative. They appreciated having access off of both 94 and 694 and other routes. Most employees, as the businesses reported, drive their personal vehicles to work, although the majority of businesses did say that new major transit investments would provide new customers for employees and potential new customers as well. And most said that while their employees were certainly feeling the impact of rising housing prices and inflation, most employees were able to find affordable housing to them near work. Most employees live within 10 miles of Oakdale. So for our education and healthcare, we have Carol Matthews, Animal Emergency and Referral Center, Hearing of America, and Little Inspirations Child Care represented. Next, when we look at our business's favorite aspects of Oakdale, they mentioned accessibility and location, small town feel, affordability, both of commercial rents and residential rents, quality of public safety, parks and trails, and growth, generally just the major period of growth the city is experiencing. Here we have some more photos of professional services, including Platinum Bank, Crossroads Properties, and CCF Bank. And here we have a critical slide on what many businesses said we could do to improve the business climate in Oakdale. In general, when asked about it, many suggested that the existing and continuing improvements in transit, pedestrian, and bike improvements were good for employees. Communication was a critical takeaway and one of the most common, and they want to keep in touch with the city and know about what's going on, whether that's in the form of development updates, newsletters, or just any form to keep that relationship and keep learning. A lot of small businesses expressed a desire for general help being connected with programs and potentially marketing. Some suggested that certain streetscapes and private properties, and especially maintenance, could be improved. Others suggested just generally that city staff should follow a common sense approach to policy when concerning business and continue to support the police and fire departments. We also have that some suggested improving and building on Oakdale's brand, helping develop that further, and others encouraged relationship building in general between the city, businesses, the chamber, and possible workforce resources like high schools and technical colleges. So for our last photo slide, we have our two retailers that we visited, including Hy-Vee and Greg Foot Jewelers. And last but not least, we do have the final recommendations that Kim compiled. These include building relationships as a city with the schools that serve Oakdale, advancing transit infrastructure with thoughtful connections to help drive customers to businesses, enhancing communication with the city and businesses, and continuing the city's strong partnership with the Oakdale Chamber. And for recommendations specific to the BRIA program, we have continuing it in general, as we saw some great results from the information we learned, and it's a valuable resource to keep in touch with our business community. Continuing the partnership with the Oakdale and St. Paul Chambers, And generally, we do want to, Kim recommends reducing the number of visits due to the increasing difficulty of scheduling visits, as we've, at this point, visited many of the businesses that we may already have existing relationships with, maybe members of the chamber. So scheduling is likely going to be trickier this next round. So we're currently thinking about 12 visits instead of 18. So with that, that's a summary of the report. There's a lot more details in the final written report, and I highly encourage everyone to take a look at it if you have time, as it's included in the packet. And with that, I'm happy to open the room to any questions and encourage discussion regarding the results, implementation, and then the next round of the business retention program.
So how, thinking back on the last year, how difficult was it to schedule all these things? Because it seems, my impression was, as it got near the end of the time period, last several months, it became more difficult to schedule.
I think that's accurate, and I'm admittedly, I'm going off of about 6 months here with the city. Based on what I've heard from Andrew Gitzloff, our director, generally those first few were, if there was a connection with the EDC with some members, or the Oakdale Chamber, and those were quite a bit easier. We had a relatively dense period of quite a few visits, and then those last ones, just a lot of our smaller businesses are very busy and might not have responded the first time, or so it did get trickier towards the end, and that's part of what extended this first cycle a little bit.
Do you see that continuing, being trickier, more difficult to reach out and make that connection so you can schedule?
I think it likely will continue. Luckily, a lot of our scheduling is done in partnership with the St. Paul Area Chamber, and they have some great connections to a lot of our businesses. With 12 visits over 12 months ideally, I think that gives us a bit more space to work with them, though that still remains a concern.
So then with this program, at least the first, this first segment coming to an end, wrapping up, what kind of follow-up would be planned for any of these businesses? I remember that was one of our discussion points early on as we were talking about this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so once we have this contract signed, we're going to have the St. Paul Area Chamber come and speak with the EDC, and we can do some visioning for the next round and talk about follow-up then if we want to revisit anyone. In terms of general follow-up, staff have been really taking advantage of now that we have a contact list for a lot of our businesses, and many asked us, say, for assistance, learning about how permitting works or connecting with different resources that some of our nonprofits offer to help businesses grow. And as staff, we've made sure to follow up on that.
So do you plan, by and large, to have a different set of businesses in round two with maybe a couple might be return visits? Is that the plan?
A lot can still be in flux and depends on the EDC's thoughts of how to do it, but that would be my general inclination of how I imagine it will go forward, as we'll want to try to find as many new ones as we can while still catching up with perhaps some of our larger employers.
This report exceeds what I thought was going to come out of this. I mean, it's just really excellent, really good information and data in here. One of the items was mentioned is employment. You know, is there anything that communities typically can do to help businesses in their community, or do you kind of lay that off to the chamber to help with, or what are just some ideas that communities might be able to do?
Yeah, that's a tricky one, as almost all of our cities right now in the region and even nationwide are experiencing the same problems. We do have resources that we try to connect with. The Minnesota Career Force is a state program that really helps connect people with jobs, get any training they might need. Washington County has a workforce center that we refer a lot of people to, and some of it we can do on our own as well in terms of building relationships with areas that might supply some great pools of labor. In general, though, it is a very complex issue that's difficult to solve.
And what about the what kind of things do they do? Like recommendation one, grow relationships and partnerships with local schools. Any hints on what that would look like?
Yeah, so I don't want to make any declarations of
Right, no,
exactly.
no.
I imagine, based on input from our council, we'll try to keep in contact more and be proactive with our relationships, say with the school district, surrounding technical colleges, just to try to connect the workforce better and also figure out how we can better serve them as a city. Oftentimes, school districts and schools operate very separately from city municipal government.
Right.
At our chamber meetings, the school representative that speaks always talks about trying to get kids into the trades and trying to get them in service. And the school is working hard at doing that. All right, Stacy? And they're really pushing that. Not everybody should go to college, and, you know, that's, and they're, what? You were gonna say something?
Yeah, go ahead. Finish.
So they're really working on that, and I think that's so wonderful because, you know, there's a lot of kids out there that can do other things than be a PhD in chemistry.
School districts have this career pathway programs going on now. That's been implemented in the last couple of years. And they're doing a really good job of connecting kids as they go through these pathway courses into areas that they have interest in and connecting them to the businesses that could give them a little bit of an experience, like internships, so they can get credit and experience by, you know, working for an hour or two in a business during the day.
Is that in District 622?
So I've personally had a couple interns work through Carol Matthews, and they come in for their first hour. And so it helps me with my early morning staffing, and it gives them experience working with children and seeing if they still want to pursue that before they go to college. So that's just an example.
Do you find that there's a problem or to make that connection, or is making those connections between students and a place they could gain that experience work, or however that works?
I think, I haven't heard that it's a problem. We've had a relationship through the chamber with the school district, so I think they tend to just reach out to businesses that they know. Or if the kids, you know, talk about a different area where they have connections, where they can, you know.
Okay.
I think banking is one of the areas that they've been doing a lot in the local community. I know that's been pretty successful.
So I wonder what role the city could play in assisting with that to help with this recommendation.
Yeah, and maybe that's a question we can ask from the school district, you know, representatives from the chamber. Maybe they have some good ideas.
Yeah. And then I mean, you asked one of my questions.
Okay.
So thank you. One of the other things I was thinking of is you're talking about local schools. What do you mean by local? Who would make local? Is it, would it be just Oakdale, or would it be like surrounding communities like Montemedi or Woodbury or Stillwater or Lake Elmore? Would that be part of local as well? Or maybe that's just a question to raise, to say, do you want a bigger pool or a smaller pool, focused or more general?
Yeah, good idea. Questions?
Ideas there.
Yeah, I think that's a topic we can definitely take to our city council and other staff as well. Just in our general area, we are surrounded by quite a few smaller cities, so it really does raise that question of which pools.
Yeah, and then that county line is just right outside the door practically, you know, so then we got things going on in Ramsey County as well. I mean, do you, geography or political boundaries, you know, city boundaries? I mean, just things.
It's definitely not as easy as it sounds.
No, it isn't.
Nothing
It
is.
definitely is not.
Just look at
We're
these
in a
ideas.
staffing shortage across the country. It's
Yeah.
not as easy as it sounds, and unfortunately, there's a lot of blockage, I would say, whether it's from businesses or from cities kind of across the state. And of course, it's difficult. Then you're limited with positions that interns can work in, and there's some regulations around that as well. So it's difficult and very hard to navigate.
can I just kind of go back on one thing here, Max, that you said with, and referring to the easiness to reach out to those initial ones? I'm guessing were those of the 61% were of the chamber members, were those the easier ones to get? And then kind of piggybacking off of that, I thought I had read there was some that ended up being a chamber member after the meetings, is that right?
Yeah, that's one thing highlighted in the report is we did get quite a few businesses that weren't a part of the chamber to join in. We'll have to follow up and see how that's going for them. Generally, yes, the easiest ones were the chamber, just in that our consultant, Kim O'Brien, who works with the St. Paul Chamber and also works with the Oakdale Area Chamber, is, as a part of her job, in contact with a lot of these businesses. So it did make it quite a bit easier for some of the first ones.
I think that partnership between the chamber and the city is, and it's like, you got a whole nother department that you can kind of tap into.
Yeah, it would have been substantially more difficult if it was exclusively municipal staff working on scheduling. Kind of on that note, do any commissioners have ideas based on this for the next round of the business retention program, priorities you'd like to make sure that we follow through on as we continue the program and look to visit more businesses?
I like the variety. I like the different industries. And I think you get your maybe bigger bang for the buck when you go to the bigger employers, but I wouldn't rule out the smaller ones, to the smaller companies that might only have one or two people. And I do see some of those here, but.
I remember one of the ideas that we had talked about was actually having the school district as one of the BRIA visits, because they're such a large employer in our community. They didn't fit the total parameter because they're, municipal, business. But I would think that that might be something we should consider because they are such a large employer.
Absolutely,
And it might be a way to connect.
I'd like to
Program.
recommend Central Bark, their new employer.
Oh, yeah.
Been taking my dog there. They're very good, and I think they're growing, and they're right next to Menards there. Might not be a bad one to visit this next go
Oh, yeah,
around.
and it's someone that took a chance
Yep.
and decided to take that chance in Oakdale, so, yeah. it's a
They've got
good
it,
one
you know,
to
they-
follow up on.
I believe he bought the building. So
Oh,
there's
they
a-
did from
yep.
the Menards?
And it's quite a large building.
Yeah, it is.
And it appears that the business is going well. It's a franchise. So I would recommend we take a look at them.
My idea would be to gather like some common trends and maybe offer some education or training sessions around that. So when we look at like our area of expertise, just on this committee alone, we all have different positions and do different items, and we're all experts and could potentially leverage some of the education or documents or resources from the experts here with the chamber, kind of anywhere. Just like thinking of a topic of interviewing, something super basic that you can educate on.
Yeah, I think with our priority on increasing communication and developing new mechanisms for that, that's something we could implement, that educational aspect for sure.
Were you volunteering, Aaron? Was that what you were?
Yes.
Okay.
I just got a question on, I don't want to go back to it, but it said that Hy-Vee has, you've got the figure in there, 400 and some employees, but then you said 1,200 employees?
Or I apologize if I said 1,200. I think that might be
It's a little high, isn't it?
yeah, they're around the 400, 425 mark.
Surprised they have that many employees.
It's a big store. There's a lot of stuff going on in that store. It's a fun place to shop, I guess. I don't usually go there, but when I do, it's fun.
How is the message sent when we're reaching out to these businesses? Are there businesses that say, no, we don't have the time or we're not gonna do it? Or I guess, what's the communication on the initial contact when they're contacted for why should we do this? Is there any feedback from business owners, or do they say they're too busy, or?
You know, I might reach out to Kim O'Brien and ask how that went. Admittedly, I joined here at the end of March, and at that point, there were about 2 to 3 visits left. And those ones, it was mostly a matter of the business owners being very busy, in which case. For the other ones, I'm not sure, but I think that's something I'll look into more and we can discuss as we envision the next session or next cycle of visits.
Remember Kim telling us that, like, they reached out to Best Buy, that was an example of a bigger company in our community, that they had a hard time getting the right person to say yes because of the corporate structure. And like initially, a manager said that they would do it, and then corporate got involved and said no. So I think navigating that was a little hard for them because they're not a member of the chamber, and so there wasn't a key person. So I think the larger the company, the harder it was.
Sure.
You know, I think some of the key takeaways and different key takeaways that stand out to me, 3 of them, is the technology evolving. I'm wondering if that would play into better infrastructure or improved infrastructure from wherever we're at. It's, you know, you can always improve, but wondering what they are looking for. And it, you know, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is, you know, your internet access, but really it could be power. It could be something as simple as power or phone communication, phone lines.
Well, could it be industry specific as well? Because technology is changing in all type of industries. If we just look at the banking industry and how that landscape has changed in the last
Oh,
50
yeah.
years, that's a great technology example.
Yeah.
So I think it could be that, but my opinion is that's more industry specific,
Right, so
at
then,
least from what I had heard, yes.
so I guess that would be a question to consider is, well, what kind of technology? What industry are we talking about that would have that, whatever that the technology would be? And then it kind of goes into on this other slide here, 61% thought employees and customers would use transit if it was more accessible. So I know there's another committee looking at, or a group of people looking at transportation in Oakdale for older people, you know, 50. Okay, so how many people are older than 50? And, you know, what's that going to look like? What can be done to improve that? And I don't know what's going to come out of that or how that will be received, but see, there's another example of whatever that is, whatever that ends up being to improve that would be beneficial to, well, you know, somebody just moved in, they're low cost housing, they don't have a lot of options available to them and they need to get to their job. So I think there's a multi-benefits. And then I don't know what could be done about this one here, wage competition for unskilled workers. I mean, that's just a hot topic no matter where you go. I mean, even the president of our Federal Reserve Bank here in town had a comment on that too. Won't bother with that, but there's always comments on that.
Well, it's kind of the question on each one of those is there a place for the city to help? Some areas it might not be, right? And
Right,
some it's
yeah.
like, nope, that's a problem, but it's not something the city really can take care of or help with.
You know, it may be that we can't do anything, but if we have observation, something that we have from experience of being able to communication with a lot of businesses, now we have that information, that backstory information. Now we have something that we can say, well, we've seen this trend. We can't say you should or shouldn't, that's your decision, but we do see this. Wages are here for this type of worker, or if you want to attract that type of worker, well, this is what you're going to have to do. It's probably things that they all know about, some know about anyway, but there's something that we could offer. And you don't have to just pick on wages, you can pick up any topic, really.
maybe that's a good connection through like DEED or the Workforce Center through Washington County, because they'd have clear data on some of that.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So I think the city can partner with those.
Yeah. I think overall, this has been a great program. I really like seeing, like somebody else was saying, I really like the results, it's just more than I expected. And I think there's a great potential for keeping it going.
So let me ask you, who put this together? We got a cast of 1,000, it looks like it, huh, putting it together?
Yeah, so while Andy and myself provided input and editing on it, the report almost entirely was prepared by Kim O'Brien. And I want
Really?
to make sure she gets credit for that because she did a phenomenal job on it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, pass that on to,
Yeah.
on to her. We're really,
Oh, that's
really impressed.
fantastic. So she did all the printing and the graphics and put it all together, correct?
So some of the graphics come from the city's general graphic design guidelines that we use on different presentations to the public. But the vast majority was prepared by Kim.
But she put it together. I mean, this is outstanding. Yeah. Okay.
Is that it for that old business topic? Next on the agenda is new business,
Certainly.
isn't it?
Yep. So, yeah, next up, we've got the Economic Development Commission Draft Work Plan Review. So beginning last year, advisory bodies to the City Council, which includes our commission as well as the Environmental Management Commission, the Tree Board, and the Parks and Trails Commission, were expected to begin creating annual work plans that highlight our goals as a body that is advisory to the City Council. With 2024 coming up, we're now tasked with updating our work plan to ensure that it represents our goals as an advisory body and that it also represents where we want to take it and any implementation elements that we've learned from the BRIA report or just other elements as we have new members join. To assist with this, I've attached an initial draft that I created as well as a copy of our 2023 work plan. This is very much a draft and I made some minor changes. Some of the changes include updating the formatting to follow city style guidelines. The original work plan said best practice a lot without citing that, so we added in some citations on what is generally thought of as the best practices for economic development. I added implementation of initiatives from the 2023 BRIA report and creation of educational materials for current and prospective business owners. I think the development map from our last meeting, as well as the handout that compiles all of the resources available to Oakdale businesses. And then also added new redevelopment plans that we're looking at for next year and updated examples of activities for 2024. And one additional note that is not present in the memo, we did receive a date by which the work plan will be finalized, which will be at the Economic Development Commission Appreciation Dinner with the City Council, which is tentatively scheduled for February 7th, 2023. So I'll pass along more information as we get closer to that date.
What was that date again?
February 7th, 2023, and again, I believe that's tentative.
Isn't that date already passed?
24.
Or 2024, my apologies.
There we go.
So with that, if EDC commissioners want to take a look at the plans, provide any input, ideas that might be different from our last work plan to keep the commission on task and make sure that we are moving economic development in Oakdale in the direction we'd like to see.
I'd just say, when I kind of look at a plan like this, I think it's helpful to look at, like, the description task. I think if you look at each one of those, there's a lot of advise, participate, assist. And I think each commissioner can kind of look at it, it's like, well, what might I be able to do, or what might the commission be able to do on that specific? Because this is a great high-level, description, so helpful. But the next step is like, oh, hey, maybe I've got an idea how we could help with that item.
Yeah, I think as city staff, and I know our city council looks at this as well when appointing new members, we really do try to look for that diversity of perspectives, and that way it can all build together. And so, because you're absolutely correct in that all of us have different expertise in different things, and we can all contribute to these in different ways.
I like the plan as is. I don't have any additions.
And I assume if we take this home and find something, you're more than happy to have people contact you if they've come up with something.
Absolutely. Feel free to email me. We also still have time prior to that dinner, though we do want to have a more or less finalized idea of the document by November. So
Bring ideas next month?
sorry?
Could we bring ideas back for the next meeting? Would that make sense?
That's certainly a possibility. In the event that we don't hold a meeting next month, I'm not sure yet. As staff, we're still focusing on this meeting. Please do feel free to email me, and that way we know for sure that it can be implemented.
Well, maybe that's everybody's kind of homework assignment, if they should choose to, is to like take a look at this plan and, just throw out ideas. If we don't have a meeting, just forward them to you.
So to confirm, there'll be, just if we're shooting for one visit per month, is that depending on, or if you get two, is it kind of just play it as you go?
I think in an ideal world, one per month would be a nice balance, depending, though we haven't officially put together a timeline. There might be desire to do more than that. We have the ability at this point to really think about how we want that to look, and there's naturally going to be some variation in any schedule we set based on who is available.
Does anybody have any comments at this time they want to share?
I like the idea of coming back next month after having some opportunity to review this.
I think overall, though, in many of these initiatives, we're doing a pretty good job. If you look at providing infrastructure, transportation, housing, business attraction. On every front, we've got something going on. From Willowbrook to Helmo Station to, so there's a lot of positive things going in all aspects of this. If you look at each category that they're talking about, attracting business, maintaining business. Now, of course, I've lost my place, but hold on. But overall, the actions and things that we've laid the groundwork for, BRT and approval of that, and Helmo and all the different stations, and then Willowbrook, I live very close to that. And now finally moving on the other side, and I guess it's 7 and 8, what do they call them, sections? I was looking at that and looks like they're gonna start building the newer homes, the private homes. So overall, good job, and how to continue to market Oakdale. There's not a lot of open land for businesses, but there is still some. Okay, biggest challenge being the where is it here? I want to make sure I got it right. The parcel of land right by Tanner's Lake.
Oh.
What's that referred to? That's the I can't think of how we refer to that, but that's probably our greatest challenge.
The Tanner's Lake parcel.
Tanner's Lake parcel.
Well, Max might
We
have
could,
some.
if we could get
might have
something
some
there, we'd
information.
really score a home run.
I think there's an update.
That's
on
probably
that.
our biggest difficulty right now.
Wasn't there
There was
some
an update last
action
month.
going on that property?
Yeah, we've got some action going on, and I'll talk a little bit more in the community development update. Generally, it's about the same information that I gave the commission at our last meeting. We've signed an exclusive rights agreement with a developer. So right now, the developer is working on refining that proposal and bringing it forward for the next step in the redevelopment process, which is a very complex set of stages and different motions that must be gone through. I wish I had the old packet, which has that helpful chart of all of the steps required for redevelopment on a parcel like that. So if anyone's interested, in the previous August meeting, there's a very helpful table that shows where we are in the process and what's left to come.
Okay, good. Look forward to hearing on that.
Any other comments on the draft work plan? All right, we'll move on to the MNCAR Q2 update.
Thank you, Vice Chair Halper. For the last couple of years, apology, wrong item here. So recently, the previous mayor of Oakdale, Paul Reinke, shared this quarterly data update with us on the office and industrial real estate markets in the Twin Cities. Given the length of the last presentation, I've cut this down a bit and shows the fundamentals of how these two markets are looking year over year in Oakdale and as a region. And I do think the data is very helpful to understand the current commercial real estate climate in Oakdale, and it does paint somewhat of a sobering picture. And as one note, this information derives from a report by the Minnesota Commercial Realtors Association, with data by Ready Management and Moody's. And if you're interested in looking at the full in-depth report, a link is present in the meeting packet. And again, this is data from other parties, and I want to make sure that they get credit for that. So first, I have some figures regarding year-over-year change in the office market. In general, region-wide, we're seeing some slowdown in climbing vacancy rates, and absorption rates remain negative. Vacancy is up nearly 1% from this time last year, and it generally shows a decline in the office market. On the right, though, interestingly, we can see that Class C office space, which for those unfamiliar is generally more affordable office space, often in the suburbs, featuring fewer amenities than, say, one in downtown St. Paul or Minneapolis, has considerably lower vacancy rates, and that includes some office space in Oakdale as well. Here we have year-over-year vacancy rates by sub-region. As you can see, vacancy rates remain relatively high and stable, with the highest vacancy rates in parts of downtown Minneapolis, though not all parts, downtown St. Paul, and portions of the west suburbs. Interestingly, the Northeast region, which the Commercial Association of Realtors classifies Oakdale as, and other cities in the East Metro that are north of Interstate 94, has a lower vacancy rate than many regions. And then here we have the full-service gross leasing rates for the region in the last year. Here we can see that our area has a lower asking lease rate than many other regions, which may be part of the reason our market is not experienced as dramatic of a decline in leasing. If we look at the industrial market, we've seen an increase region-wide in vacancy rates of about 0.7%. Bringing the regional vacancy rate up to 3.9%, which is better than comparative statistics for office leases. Absorption for industrial units has stayed positive, unlike office units, but has slowed down in the last year. Similarly to the office market, we can see that our subregion is faring a bit better, with lower vacancy rates on average compared to the rest of the metropolitan area. in this pie chart shows that most new construction of industrial spaces is occurring in the northwest part of the region. I think Rogers and Maple Grove and generally that area, though our subregion is still experiencing quite a bit of growth in the industrial market with more than 1,400,000 square feet added. So briefly for takeaways, the office market has generally remained stagnant in the last year with increases in vacancy rates, although Oakdale and surrounding suburbs have comparatively lower rates. The industrial market is seeing vacancy rates climbing somewhat region-wide, although absorption is positive, and Oakdale and the northeast suburbs have comparatively lower vacancies industrial-wise. So that's a lot of numbers, and that concludes the update from the, again, data from the Minnesota Association of Commercial Realtors. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions, and I do encourage commissioners who are interested in this to add any additional points of discussion.
Now, I find these rates interesting, all these graphs. I like the numbers and that. One number I think would be beneficial is to know what a good target would be. Optimal, like, let's say like vacancies. You don't really, I don't think you really want a zero vacancy. You know, it tells you everything's booked, but it also means that nothing can move. But you don't want to, on the other end either, too much vacancy, because that's, you know, has its own implications. So there's got to be a good target. But what would that be? How would that be determined?
You know, I'm not sure, as I think it can vary based on your perspective and which aspect, what industry you're in,
Right.
whether you're a developer or own the building. So I'm not sure that I can accurately point out a goalpost, but
Right.
that's something to I'll keep in mind as I look at similar data.
Yeah, and so that would, I mean, I'm looking at the office trends by market, vacancy rate by market, that slide. And I see, oh, we're circled, you know, we got a nice low number there compared to all the Minneapolis C and D warehouse, that's pretty high, but maybe that's normal for that market, for that industry, for the industries that are there.
One thing to also keep in mind is we're still in unprecedented times from the COVID spillover. So we see a lot of these large organizations where they're, nope, we're going to get rid of our office buildings and everybody's going to work from home, now scale back on that. And so we'll see a lot of these vacancies, at least in my opinion, from kind of just looking at that landscape to we're going to kind of eventually go back to where we were pre-pandemic. It's not going to be as intense, in my opinion, because we still have those work from home options and we still have hybrid schedules, but there's still a lot of buildings out there that people are looking for, and lots of buildings that were shut down and now, because they were pushing people home, that are now reopening, and individuals or companies are trying to find office space.
I was gonna ask that if the vacancies were because the offices here in Oakdale are smaller, because for me, when I was looking for space, that made a big deal, because some of the spaces like in St. Paul are larger for, you know, and I don't need that much space. So I'm wondering if the vacancy levels are lower here because we're offering spaces here that are smaller. So I just didn't know if in your data, it can differentiate, like if it's just big space, or if it's because the spaces here are in Oakdale are smaller, on a smaller scale.
You know, it wasn't included in the report and the data, but that is something I think would be very interesting to look at. And I do believe we'd be able to retrieve that data for the city of Oakdale. So I'll take a look into that and see because I think that is a hypothesis that could have truth in it.
It does suggest that whatever we have is kind of right-sized for the market. Right?
Yeah. It's because Oakdale isn't so far from the Twin Cities, like St. Paul. It's close enough, and with the asking market rate, it is lower. And when I was looking, it was much cheaper, and because of that, it's if the space fits and everybody's downsizing, if it fits, then there's a market here in Oakdale. Because of that, you're going to get smaller businesses that are willing to come in, or even big ones that have downsized. And because of technology, just don't need that additional big space that you just pay for nothing. And that's why now all of a sudden Oakdale is a nice area to do business in.
You can kind of tell there's a common theme with your lease rates, where your vacancy rates are, right? I mean, you look at your $33, well, that's the highest vacancy rate, right, Minneapolis. And you look at the vacancy rates are low in Northeast, well, also the lease rates are lower, right? So you're gonna have fewer vacancies because you got, price per square foot is less. So I think that's where business owners are looking at, what do we need? Like, where's our, our bang for our buck? Do we go smaller and, like you say, put some work from home, or do you pay top dollar to drive downtown and you got to pay for parking and et cetera, et cetera? So I think a lot more businesses are looking at the whole picture versus having some big building downtown and being more cost effective with their funds. So it'll be certainly interesting to see probably in the next 12 to 18 months where it kind of goes. As you said, we're just still some lingering effects, certainly, with the pandemic. So it'll be quite interesting to see where that goes from here.
I think it was on NPR this morning or yesterday that, I mean, there's some companies that are forcing their people to go back to work at minimum 3 days a week, and they are having a hard time.
The companies that said we'll never need to work back in the office.
Exactly right.
And now they're
That's-
saying yes.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
Like I tell you, perception too, is how many people we've run into in our family that say, well, nobody's going in, the road should be empty, nobody's going in the office anymore, everybody's working from home, and say, no, not the case. 3 days a week, many companies, hybrid, there's a lot of things going on. Perception is huge, a huge part of this.
Any other comments? Do you do is promotion of brainstorming for MNCARs?
So that would be the next item.
Okay.
Yep. So for the last couple years, staff have attended the Minnesota Commercial Realtors Association Commercial Real Estate Expo in downtown Minneapolis, courtesy of the Washington County Community Development Agency, which books a table and then allows cities to, in Washington County, to come in for free. So we couldn't do this without them. During the meeting, cities, developers, and businesses come together to discuss potential development opportunities. Last year, we promoted Tanner's Lake. That was our primary objective. However, with the exclusive rights agreement signed for Tanner's, we want to try to promote other topics this year. Right now, as staff, we're considering promoting the need for a brewery in our community. The City Council has expressed a lot of strong interest in securing a brewery. Additionally, there are very few breweries in the east suburbs compared to the West Metro, and only 6 breweries are present in Washington County, with 5 being in one city. As a result, we want to promote Oakdale as a prime location for a brewery, given its large family population, very fast rate of growth right now, with a 20% increase in the population expected by 2030. And generally, in the marketing, some of our communications are thinking of calling it an untapped market or something along those lines. So, yeah, staff remain open to other ideas and other handouts, but we're curious as to what the EDC thinks, and we're happy to answer questions or entertain ideas.
What happened to the idea over by the furniture?
Home furniture, yeah.
The home, I thought that there was at one point there was talk about somebody was gonna tack on like a brewery entertainment complex on the end of that.
Yeah, so as I understand that, there were a couple of setbacks. For one, we had to repeal an ordinance in that from a very, very old law in the books, I don't know that all staff were aware of. It banned distilling and creating alcohol in the city. There were some market setbacks, and there's some state regulations, particularly if you want to serve food in a brewery. The difference between like a brew pub and a brewery, and sometimes you have to separate that. I'm not an expert in the exact building code requirements of breweries, though it can prove difficult for businesses interested in, say, serving food with it. So I believe
Did those plans fall through? Or
They did
just
fall
because of all
through.
the problems?
Mhm.
Okay.
So where do we stand right now in that regards?
I believe the project has more or less fallen through. There's always a chance that it could come back, and the relationship still remains positive. However, at this point, the staff and the city council still just want to try to promote in general having a brewery in Oakdale, just given our proximity and that
Have we corrected those issues by
Yeah.
ordinances? Okay.
yes, staff last year corrected these issues, and our part of what we're thinking of promoting is showing just how much of our zoning code allows for it. Right now, anyone in the general community commercial district, as well as a lot of our other zoning districts, including planned unit developments, do allow breweries.
And do they also allow food to be served, or is that still got to be separate?
That's more of a state regulation, and it depends on how the building is set up. I don't want to say something inaccurate in that. I know that it's very complex.
Because I find that personally to be a big barrier to wanting to go to, personally, one beer without any food and I'm done, it's like,
My understanding is.
right,
Yeah.
And then you got to order a pizza and it's just a hassle.
Well, yeah,
It's
so
an
versus
FDA thing.
Yeah.
state food license versus alcohol and, yeah.
And there's only so many mustard pretzels you can eat,
But I think like Lift Bridge in Stillwater, I think like there's a brewery there,
Yeah.
but then they started setting up for like food trucks. I think they were able to kind of
Right.
figure a
And
way
I
around.
suspect Stillwater is that town with the 5, the 6, yep, okay.
I've read a interesting article about the trend going away from breweries to distilleries now.
Yep,
To what?
To distilleries.
Oh, wow.
because there's breweries everywhere.
Right, that the market's getting a little flooded and that people are looking at those. So that's something to maybe consider.
Yeah, we've seen reports that the market's pretty saturated, and particularly the West Metro. Generally, we do feel that Washington County has a somewhat unusual setup with the amount of breweries.
It's a good idea.
Well, an idea for promotion potentially could be the retail segment of Forefront. Is that in the planning, is that already zoned properly? I believe it is.
Yeah, so that's what's known as a planned unit development, and breweries and distilleries are explicitly allowed.
And so that section to promote at the Expo, okay, for ideas, and you could even potentially promote the brewery or distillery in that section, because you've got Willowbrook really coming strong now, and you're gonna have a tremendous amount increase of homes there and people living, so the market right at the doorstep of the retail center at Forefront on that side of what do we call it now? It's 14, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then also the remaining lots in the Target area across the street. I think we should be promoting that. And it's a natural, because you really do have an explosion of population literally right behind Forefront. And that's gonna really create a lot of demand. Especially a restaurant. If I had the money, I'd be putting a restaurant in there,
You need restaurants.
right?
It would be
So,
very nice to
just
have
my
that.
2 cents. I think natural with because Willowbrook is now well under development. It's pretty much half built out, and now the other higher-end private home half on the north end of the site. It looks, all the roads, they're putting the finishing touches on the roads and the sewers right now. So I assume we're probably going to be seeing some breaking ground on the homes. And next summer, within, probably the end of next summer, fall, we'll see a lot of people moving in there. And all the townhomes and apartments are all done. So,
Yeah, we've seen plenty of building permits come in as staff, and I think you summarized a general narrative we could use pretty well, making the case for that.
Right.
20% is a number, and it's a big number. Adding that Willowbrook aspect of just a major part of the city that went undeveloped for so long is a strong source to help us promote that.
and then
So in the corner of Ideal and, let's see, Hadley and 40th Street, there's a 4-story building going in there. Is that senior citizen, or what is that gonna be?
That's right behind
40th?
Hy-Vee. You're talking about right behind Waters of Oakdale, correct?
Which-
Adjacent to you're talking about the new building behind Hy-Vee?
No, 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 no.
On
No, no,
40th.
no. On
I
40th,
think that's market value
And Hadley.
apartments.
40th and Hadley.
Oh, that's a big apartment building, yeah.
Yeah.
That's part of Willowbrook.
Apartment built, it's gonna be
Yeah,
apartment.
yeah, that's part of Willowbrook. Yes, that thing's huge.
It's huge, I mean, it's,
I mean, it really,
is it luxury apartments or haven't you heard?
Market.
Market?
Value, yeah.
Is it?
I want to say market rate. This is a moment where I may defer to the development map that we've created as staff. As with the level of development in the city, it can be tricky to remember everything that's going on.
but that's the section that'll be the lowest cost. It's not HUD, but it's the lower ends of the townhomes that are already completed, right behind Forefront. Okay, those are really nice townhomes with, pool and a gym and all that stuff. Higher cost units, typically 2-bedroom, okay? Whereas the building you're talking about will be a little bit more affordable, lower cost, 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and on the lower end, okay?
But they are apartments, not
They are apartments.
condos or anything.
They're not gonna be condos, it'll be
Yep.
it's an apartment,
It's
unit apartment
huge.
complex,
It
yeah.
is a huge building.
Lots of units too, yep. I was on planning commission when all that was still approved. So I'm familiar with it.
We did they had an open house on, what's the first one? The Springs, when you go down Hadley, or Helmo, and it's the first turn to the left, that project right on the corner there. The Springs, it's called.
Yep.
Springs of Oakdale or something like that. We had the open house there and ribbon cutting for the city. Beautiful, beautiful buildings. I mean, it's an enclosed community. Very, very nice.
And it's gated too.
Really beautiful. I mean, they just did a heck of a job there. We've got some good properties in Oakdale now. I mean, it's quite a place to live, really.
Yeah, the vast majority of the people that are gonna be living in Willowbrook, I mean, they're gonna be, that opportunity in Forefront, right along the corridor there is phenomenal. I think that's what we should be promoting at the Expo for sure. That's a no-brainer.
And it's interesting, most of the houses in that whole complex, I mean, probably, I don't think there's anything under 400,000, if that. I mean, most.
Well, they
probably
say
in the-
300s, but it's real high 300s.
Yeah, yeah.
And the ones across that are on the north end, they'll be definitely 400s up, even pushing 5 on those.
On the north side of 40th?
No, yes, correct,
The new, where they're
Yeah.
digging now, yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are the private, larger lots. Right behind Olson Lake Estates.
All right, does that wrap up discussion on that? All right, next on the agenda is commissioner updates. Could you explain or re-explain what commissioner updates are?
Certainly. Historically, in the EDC, we would go around the table and any business updates, city updates, general questions or comments, each commissioner would add if they would like. It's optional and they can skip. So generally, we would start with one end of the table and move along.
All right. We start with you, Bill? We'll start your end.
Right.
Frank, sorry.
I don't have anything to report except, I just have a comment to make. Do you have any juice with the railroad people for the roads? Hadley Avenue and Century Avenue, the railroad road is just a disaster. It is so terrible. I mean, I'm sure someone's gonna break their front end. Have you checked it out? You driven on there lately?
I can put that down and then talk to our public works
I mean,
about
there's
getting in
holes,
touch.
there's actual holes in it's just terrible. When, I have to drive it every day and I come to a total stop and everybody hates me behind me, but I don't care. I'm not gonna fly over that thing. It's just, I mean, really, the one on Century Avenue, there's a couple of holes like this. Check that out. It's getting dangerous. I mean, it's getting very serious. Other than that, we're having a meeting tomorrow, a chamber meeting, And the guest speaker is Bob, your wife?
No, it's me.
Oh,
Is your wife speaking tomorrow?
I don't think so.
No, it's, well, you talking about the St. Paul Area Chamber Business
No,
Education Series?
the chamber, it's Oakdale Chamber.
Oakdale Chamber.
Oh, no, I'm speaking tomorrow morning for the St. Paul Chamber.
Okay.
I don't know.
So you got me confused.
I thought your wife was speaking about the water quality out here.
No,
I don't think so. Maybe in the future.
we was
but
talking
not-
about this bar.
Oh, okay. So I don't know who the speaker is from.
Look at me.
No, I'll be honest, I don't know.
Well.
But it's at the Lake Alamo and at 11:30. And if anybody would like to attend as a guest, please do.
The food is wonderful there, absolutely wonderful.
I'm sure the speaker will be outstanding.
Whoever it is. No, I thought for sure, had heard that his wife was speaking. But go ahead, moving on.
I have
Aaron?
0 updates.
Okay,
The dueling piano show at Oak Marsh is Friday night, and it's a fundraiser for Carol Matthews Center for Children and Families. And we still have tickets available, so it's a really fun night. So if anybody wants a date night, it's a fun night, join us.
Okay. I just had a couple questions. There's like development, it's like, I think I remember what that was, but I can't remember. Well, one time there was talk about a grocery store going up over by Forefront. You know anything about that? Does that ring a bell?
So we did receive a submission for a project that's labeled as a national grocery store, and staff are evaluating it, and it's going to the city council.
Okay. And then what are they building over by Target, that big thing? Is that,
So that is a market rate apartment building that I have down for the update. And I can get back to you on
Okay.
the
I was just curious.
number of units.
yeah, thanks.
I think that apartment building by Target, it's gonna have a destination restaurant,
Oh,
I heard.
but not a brewery.
Not really. But I'm getting indications that maybe that's not the case.
I think it was preferred there.
Okay.
There was talked about there, but I don't think that was
Cool.
a thing.
Okay. I have no updates.
Okay.
I have none.
Well, I have a follow-up question. The National Grocery Store, where would that be? Where are they requesting?
So that's going to be at the Forefront campus.
Really?
I believe at the southwest edge, though I'd need to double check the map.
That was my understanding is where it was, yeah.
And that's still under review, so.
Another grocery store in Oakdale, that would, go on
The
Target,
super
that would be.
Target. I would prefer super Target over a grocery store.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Oh. Well, I guess that, my only update is if you're, so I am, the St. Paul Area Chamber tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. has a business education series going on. So it's on recruiting, retention for business owners and small business, really any size business, I guess. So I'll be speaking at that. If you wanna join.
Employees or customers or recruiting and retention of what?
Oh, employees.
specifically? Employees?
Yes. So, it should be fun. I'm one of 3 speakers. I'm on the panel.
Where's the location?
It's on Zoom, so it's a virtual thing, yeah. Because it's actually 4-state region. It's for Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, and, or maybe just 3 states. So it's not just the Twin Cities. They do, it's part of their business education series. They do 4 a year. So, hot topic though. That's all I got.
Yeah, no updates over here. Thank you.
Okay. Hand it over to Max for Community Development Department updates.
Sure thing. So with Andrew Getzloff, our Community Development Director, gone tonight, I'll be giving a few brief departmental updates. If commissioners remember, a few months ago, we presented what's known as the Glenbrook Small Area Plan to the commission regarding some of the land in the northwest section of the city near Highway 36 and Century. The plan was recently formally adopted by the city council, and it is now on the city website, and I encourage any interested commissioners to view it, as we did get a good final product out of that. The bike and pedestrian plan, which I'm the lead on, is nearly complete and is currently available online, and it's near final draft format for comment. We also presented on that a few months ago. I highly encourage as well any interested commissioners to take a look. We can still take suggestions on that, and those can go directly to me. For development, I have a few updates. Generally, our multifamily projects are moving along, including Impact Apartments near the Helmo Station Bus Rapid Transit stop, and Oakdale Marketplace Apartments near Target, both of which are market rate. Construction recently started on Oakdale Commons, a 168-unit senior building behind Hy-Vee. Additionally, at the August 22nd City Council meeting, a 130-unit apartment building was approved on Hudson Boulevard near the Greenway Bus Rapid Transit Station. This building will be designed for semi-assisted living under a Medicare voucher program. And for one more, the city did recently approve the site plan for a new Valvoline location to be located in Bergen Plaza, and that'll be taking the place of the vacant lot that's there. And with that, I can take additional questions. And again, the development map that the city recently put together may have more up-to-date information and general information as well as to the exact city council packets, which have considerable comprehensive information on each development.
Okay. Council liaison updates.
Good evening, commissioners, and thank you guys for taking time out tonight to do the work of the city here. So thank you guys all. And Pang and Tony, welcome. Just a couple of updates here that I would just want to run by everyone on this commission here. The council did approve the sale of THC-infused drinks to be sold by liquor stores. So that is one item that we did move on. We also did pass an ordinance prohibiting the smoking of cannabis in public areas. Another item is that we had an update from the Oakdale Summerfest committee and organization. They reported out that everything went really well, and we anticipate on supporting that event again like we did this year, next year. I do encourage you guys all, if you guys have the time and capacity to volunteer, to reach out to Paul Ranke and the members there that is organizing that event. They're always looking for volunteers to help support it. And lastly, you know, we're making progress on setting the budget for the 2024 city and figuring out the items around the levy and everything. So I would encourage you guys all to go visit our website, go check out OpenGov, and get familiar with what the city is looking to do in regards to that. At this time, I'll open it up for any questions or comments from the commissioners.
Is there a timeline for the new public works? Like, is there a rough timeline of how that, you know, over the years is going to develop?
Yeah, Max, I think that's what, it's in progress right now. We just made some selection on some of the finishes that are going on in the building.
Oh, wow.
I think we're still working through, there's a project manager that we assigned to the project who will be making sure that progress is always moving in a positive direction. And I think, it's all moving full steam ahead. And I think the project completion date, correct me if I'm wrong, is like 2025, I want to say, or?
I'm not sure on the project completion date. I know that the city recently put out an RFP for a construction manager, and we were presented some of the architectural renderings, which are shaping up well.
That's exciting.
And we can all, of course, get back to the commission on greater details regarding that public
It
works.
was just kind of a high level. I know that's in the works, and that's what the special tax was for. So.
Yeah.
Is there any movement on that, the Titan Bar on Century Avenue? Are they remodeling it, dumping it, going to tear that property down, or what are they doing, do you know?
From what I understand is that they are remodeling and a new business will be moving in.
What's our stance on business permits for specific THC cannabis dispensaries? And have there been any requests? Where are we on that?
So that is what we put the moratorium on. It was, we were gonna wait for the state to come out with their rules in regards to business related cannabis types of businesses. And so for now, we are just waiting till the state set out their rules around that.
Okay, good, that's good. It's a whole new world coming. So you can buy that in drinks now. Oh my gosh.
And gummies and edibles.
So you get high when you drink instead of drunk. That's interesting.
If no further questions or comments, thank you guys so much for everything that you guys are doing on behalf of the city, and I'll be around afterwards.
Right?
Thank you.
All right. Would anybody have anything else they want to add? We need a motion to adjourn.
I'll motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So what business do you own?
Are we there?
Okay.
Okay.